Gabriel Williams.
Oh, you should bring that up. You know what? You should come in and bring it up.
I can. I will. Like we are live.
Just remember, we only have an hour until it cuts out. So if you come in and you spend 30 minutes on Taylor Gabriel's tweet, we're gonna have a little issue. Taylor Gabriel's tweet. We're gonna have a little issue. Taylor Gabriel's tweet.
All right, so we are streaming. Let me.
You are live
with the link. Lester, you can just click on this. I think you can handle that. Technical as you are, you can click on a link, and I promise you, it's not a bad link.
But
you got
Let's see here. All right,
yeah,
so...
I see it. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, let me.
But if I have this up, then I can't see Jeff.
Lester, that's on the
How many
internet
screens do you have?
forever.
Oh, then I'm getting echo. That's out of here. I
have to mute it. You have to
You just mute it. You mute the video.
You mute it, Lester.
Mute the video, and then you don't have to worry about that.
I have a very small laptop, so like if I have that up,
need some screens.
I can't see my notes. Then I can't see Jeff when I'm trying to talk to him. So
you need screens. We're gonna get
so once I get the basement set up to be like my podcasting studio, I'm gonna do the double screen.
Yep.
Ooh, man, that's gonna look so fly when I get down there. No, I don't know.
Lester's gonna really go for it, isn't he?
Not really.
we got 2 viewers, dudes. So
nice.
We are rolling. All right, Jeff. Whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Berckes. I'm a writer for Windy City Gridiron, and I'm joined by the boss man over at Windy City Gridiron, Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. The Bears are 2-2 with a big victory in Justin Fields' first home start. How are you feeling about that, Lester?
That's exactly the kind of Justin Fields that we wanted to see against the Browns. I mean, yes, the Browns are a much better defense, but that's more of the kind of game plan we expected, more run heavy, a little bit more play action, move the pocket a little bit, don't let him be a sitting duck for Myles Garrett and Clowney. That was what we wanted to see. We wanted to see some flashes, some excitement. And like I said last week, even if the Bears would have lost against the Lions, and if we would have saw some Justin Fields excitement, I'd be happy. But we got the win. We got exciting Justin Fields. I'm happy as a Bears fan.
Yeah, I think that we've talked about this a lot in terms of what this year is all about, and it's really all about Justin Fields. It's not necessarily about record, but wins are nice because you're not hoping for losses in a season where you're trying to get a high draft pick. You've already got the quarterback, and you don't have the first-round draft pick because you used it to go get the quarterback last year. So there's no point in rooting for that. You're rooting for wins like normal, but it's all about Justin Fields, and the wins are just icing on the cake. But yeah, I was at this game.
You were? I was going to ask you, was it fun?
It was a lot of fun. We had a blast. We happened to stay at the Players Hotel. It was totally by accident.
I saw those Lambos. On
the Lamborghinis were pretty impressive. We pulled up behind David Montgomery. So everybody's got masks on. There's mask mandate in Chicago. And guy gets out. He's got a mask on. He's driving like a Mercedes. And I was like, I think that's David Montgomery. I can't tell because I can't really see his face, but I think that's David Montgomery. And then he grabbed a bag and he threw it over his shoulder. And there was this little luggage tag and it's number 32. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's David Montgomery.
Nice.
And we saw Jason Peters, who is as big as a mountain.
Yeah.
We saw Latavius Simmons, who's a big dude. Danny Trevathan was on the elevator with us. We walked out with Andy Dalton, who's looks the part. So it was pretty cool. The game itself was really neat. We sat in a good crowd. There's always a couple people that are opinionated with incorrect opinions, but that's okay. It's all part of the experience.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite part of attending a game live versus watching it on TV?
I'm not a huge. I would always rather just stay at home and watch it. But every now and again, I do have a chance to go to games, and it's just the atmosphere. It's cool, and it's just kind of neat. And I'm a big food guy as well, so I like to try out the snacks and the hot dogs, whatever it is there. Like I was in the last live game I went to was in Lambeau, and that was 4 years ago. So it was it was the game that led to Mitch Trubisky eventually starting that huge blowout the Bears had with Mike Glennon. Rough game, but their food was outstanding. So that's for me. If I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do it up, get some nice tasty treats.
Well, I'm writing the 10 Thoughts article this week is just going to be about my experience going to Soldier Field. So it's all about the Bears. It's all about the Justin Fields experience. It's all about the start of the Justin Fields era. But one of the things that I was trying to articulate in the article was that one of my favorite things about seeing a game live is actually the sounds. I think that, a lot of people say, well, you can see different things, and that's absolutely true. It's also the viewing experience on TV in general is usually better than it is that you can get into a ballpark. Maybe if you're at the 50-yard line or something like that. I really like the end zone view because on a lot of plays, you get a really unique view of the play as it develops. But it's the sounds. There's just little nuances that I find fascinating. Like, I can't see a fumble happen 80 yards away from me, but the people that are really close can. And so there'll be this crescendo of sound that rises, and it's more of the organic stuff. I've been to a few Vikings games, Bears Vikings, and then just Vikings games in general, because it's a lot closer for me to be able to get there. And they pump in all this artificial sound, and they try to pump up the crowd with, Viking horns and stuff like that. And none of it feels very organic there. Whereas all the noise, Bears fans don't need encouragement to make noise. They really kind of need instruction to quiet down when the offense is trying to operate, but they don't really need instruction to make a lot of noise. And so it's cool to see that sort of organic flow of sound sort of wash over a stadium. That's something you really can't replicate at home.
It's going to be nice when they have the new stadium in the suburbs where it's like, 80,000 people going nuts. That's going to be nice.
A lot of people had a lot of opinions about that, but maybe save that for a different time. But
yeah.
Well, let's start with, as we do every week, and let's talk about our trench tribute. Do you want to go first on these categories this week?
Yeah, I'll take it. For me, I'm going to go with a collective. I'm not sure if that's allowed, but it's it's our category, our rules. I'm going to go the whole offensive line. Jermaine Ifedi, James Daniels, Sam Mustipher, Cody Whitehair, Jason Peters. I had a chance to watch the game again, and they were moving people. You could tell that they went to the coaching staff and said, look, let's run the ball. Let us pound the snot out of the Lions, and let's just establish a run game early. And that's what happened here. There were 36 called runs, 179 yards, 4.97 yards per carry just from the called runs, not the scrambler or the two kneel downs from field. So the Bears O-line, I'm giving all five of those guys. Those are my trench tribute this week.
Yeah, when I rewatched the game, I noticed there's a lot of emotion coming out of those guys. Obviously, they got beat up. They did not. I mean, their pride was obviously hurt in terms of just how. Yeah, absolutely. And they came out and they responded exactly how you wanted them to. There was one play I saw. Jermaine Ifedi was incredibly excited after a big run, and that's what you like to see. Is you like to see those guys getting into the run blocking, getting excited, and getting the juices flowing. So I kind of wonder. I have that a little later to talk about the O-line, but I wanted to make sure we talked about Travis Gibson. He kept popping up on the board. He was making plays, and they kept popping him up on the board, and so this is a nice development player out of him. And he was credited with 3 quarterback hurries, 4 total pressures. He had a sack, he had a forced fumble, and he played on 16 pass rushing snaps. He got all that in that amount of time. That's incredible development out of a guy like that. He's still young, he's still learning, but he's able to contribute in limited time. And when Mac went out and missed plays, it was nice to be able to get a guy like that to come in and give you some juice.
He really flashed in the preseason, and then he kind of had a slow start. He was actually inactive, I think, against the Bengals, which is kind of weird to me, but I guess it just had something to do with the game plan and the scheme, what they wanted to do on defense. They didn't need an extra guy at that spot, but I think now he's to the point where he's going to play every week. His snaps should increase every week. I think he is going to take over that OLB 3 spot at some point if he hasn't already.
Yeah, and that's only good for the other 2 guys because they get more reps on the sidelines so that they're fresher when they're in there. You don't need a guy like Khalil Mack to play 95, 100% of the snaps. No. You want him to be fresh. You want him to be as explosive as possible. So you don't need him to be playing every snap. So that's only for the better of those guys, Robert Quinn additionally as well. Why don't we move on to the sweet tweets, tweet of the week? What did you have that you picked out of the thousands of Bears tweets that were coming out in this game?
So when the game ended, I tweeted out, speaking of Travis Gibson, I tweeted out the outside linebacker stats from those 3 guys, Gibson, Mack, and Quinn. So at Bears Mexi, Bears en Español, tweeted, Sean Desai está poniendo a sus jugadores en posición para éxito. Si sigue así el front 7, podríamos ser casi imparables.
All right. I caught half of those words.
All right. I had to use Google Translate. I knew some of it, but Sean Desai is putting his players in position for success. if the front seven continues like this, we could be almost unstoppable. And I'm not sure about the unstoppable part, but I got to give credit. Sean Desai has got some unique blitz packages. He has had some really neat ways to get guys free. And he is the guy that I thought he would be going into this season. He had a rough start against the Rams, but of course the Rams are just a juggernaut on offense. But his defense has settled in. They played really good, and the Bears may have one of the better defenses in the league this year.
Yeah, that front seven is where that strength of that defense is. And so if they're going to be competitive, if they're going to be good, that's where it's going to come from. The Bears have 15 sacks. Well, I just blew my own stat of the week. So let me do my sweet tweet here. So Adam Hogue, who's at Adam Hogue, which is spelled Hoge, he says Matt Nagy once again reiterated that Andy Dalton is still the starter when healthy. He also praised Justin Fields for his big plays downfield and emphasized the need for more of those. My advice, react less to what Matt Nagy says on Monday and more to who actually plays on Sunday.
Yes.
That's what we've been saying. We agree that actions are way stronger than words that with this leadership team. You just don't listen to Matt Nagy, don't listen to Ryan Pace, and you'll be for the better. Matt Nagy's not doing himself a lot of favors with a lot of these comments. And I can tell you that the sense of the fans around me is that they think he's a clown right now. They think he's a bozo.
Oh, yeah.
And he's really not helping himself with comments like that. And comments like it all flows through me. Bill did a good job, but I'm the final person to make those decisions. So I wanted to have a Matt Nagy, press conference soundbite conversation right now because he's not handling this well.
I was very critical of him last week when he came out and would not say who the play caller was. I sent off some very mean-spirited tweets about the whole situation. I just wasn't happy. I just think from it just shows his ego that he wasn't willing to just, put the praise on his guy. I mean, if that's your guy, he's part of your staff, let's put all the shine on him. Hey, this is Bill Lazor's offense now. And he didn't want to do it. And then even when he finally begrudgingly admitted, yeah, Bill called the plays, it took him a while. He still made sure he prefaced it with, it still comes through me. I guess that could be, maybe he's trying to shield his guy in case something happens. Maybe he's trying to do that. But like I said, the track record of Nagy hasn't shown that that's kind of the way his ego works. So I hope that's the case. But, with Matt Nagy right now, I mean, it's just, like I said, he's got the clown rep. The McDonald's commercial did not do him any favors.
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, he got a little endorsement deal with McDonald's, and he's talked about, it's, for what it is, it's great, right? Great benefits, come work here. This is great. I'm here to help make this great team better. But it really is easy for people like me to then say, hey, you got to pick one career, and you've already tapped out of this career that you're currently in. Why don't you go over here where there's opportunities for growth?
He had to know when he agreed to that commercial that if things went bad, that would be like the meme, and he would be like that's his thing now. So, for his sake, hopefully things turn around because, like I said all along, I think he is a good head coach to a point, but like I said, the ego thing is starting to get a little out of control. I would like to see him just realize, hey, I'm just not a good play caller. I'm never going to be a good play caller. Let me just step away forever. And this is Bill Lazor's show. I'm going to just do the head coach thing. And just think, if he would have done that the last few years, we may be looking at one of the most successful head coaches in the history of the franchise, within the last 20, 30 years, because he knows how to lead the players.
Right.
But what's happening now is we're starting to see some cracks in it because of the ego.
You're right. That we talk about him being a good leadership coach, and maybe not what he brings in terms of offensive play calling, which is like a McVay or a Shanahan or something like that. You don't necessarily care that they don't maybe have that level of leadership that they're bringing because they're these offensive geniuses. But he's clearly not being a good leader of the entire team. Maybe he's got players that will back him up, but he's not being a good leader in terms of what his coaching staff is. He's been quick to throw those guys under the bus in the past. That's not good. And so this idea that Matt Nagy is a good leadership coach, I'm not sure that that's really completely true. I think there are other guys that you could say do a better job of that. And if, it goes back to that, Office Space meme of like, what would you say you do here? Right. And that's what we have to start asking about Matt Nagy. If he really isn't going to bring a lot of energy or help in the offensive play calling, and he's actually probably not that great of a leader, then I think the writing's on the wall. But before we jump into stats, I want to bring in producer extraordinaire Robert Schmitz, because he had a sweet
Nice.
tweet that he wanted to share. So why don't you hop on screen here and share your tweet with the audience?
Oh, you bet. I think it's awesome. So Justin Fields, obviously, he throws for 209 yards, and I swear most of that came off of like 5 throws because he was just chucking the ball downfield off of 17 attempts. So, super efficient, to the point where Taylor Gabriel, that's at TGDadOn1, tweets at the Chicago Bears, please let that man start the rest of the year. Are we seeing these throws downfield? Loud. Made me want to put my cleats on. So, just not to interrupt the flow of the podcast too much, but Justin Fields was so, let's say, electric on Sunday that he made former players wish he had been there all along, which I feel like that's the strongest statement as you can make.
If the former players are that excited about what they're seeing, imagine what the current players believe.
So Mooney loves it.
Mooney loves it. Yeah,
A-Rob loves it.
Mooney said something like,
doesn't.
We locked eyes, and I knew he was like throwing the ball to me. That's what Mooney said. And I'm like, okay, yeah. It's just, I don't know what's happening here. So to me, the toothpaste is out of the tube. Like this is happening. Like and Matt Nagy keep talking about putting Andy Dalton back in. I just don't see it. I just don't see how he's gonna make that happen. This is Justin Fields' team right now.
I think that this week will be Fields, because I think the knee may not be quite there yet. And then I think the following week, thanks, Robert. Look at Robert, just jumps out like a producer. But then I think the following week, they may go back to Dalton, because by that point, the bone bruise should be 100%. I'm not entirely happy with it. I don't think that's the best way to go. But, they want to give Dalton every chance, to keep things going. But I think if Fields has a great game in Vegas, I think and you have to have the conversation that, we got to keep this guy in here. He won the job. But there are some rookie mistakes, though, they're trying to work through. But so I can see both. As a fan, I want to see the rookie out there.
Yeah, that's all I want to see. All right, let's move into the stats. So what did you have for Caught Up in the Numbers game, your stat of the week?
Why don't you go first, since you already kind of spoiled
it. Yeah. So my stat of the week is 15. So that's the number of sacks that the defense has racked up over the first 4 games. That leads the league. So the Bears only had 35 in total in all of last year, which is about middle of the pack. Quinn's looked great. He's obviously what Ryan Pace hoped he would be when he signed him to that big contract. Mack is getting schemed up in interesting ways, which is allowing him to get pressure on the quarterback, and he's come home for a number of sacks, so that is great news. Mario Edwards has been good. Travis Gibson has been coming along. He's been playing well. This is the strength of the team. If they're going to have success this year, it's going to come from the front 7, because that back 4, that secondary, even though Duke Shelley made a nice play on the ball, you still have a lot of holes in that secondary. So the strength of this team is going to come from the front 7, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep this going. They have a few guys that they're going to have some real issues with getting to in terms of like trying to rack up sacks on the schedule. But there's some teams on the schedule that play some statues and have some bad O-line stuff. I mean, they get to play the Lions again, but they get to play the zombified form of Ben Roethlisberger at some point. I mean, like there's some games here that they could rack up some sacks. So this team could do some interesting things.
I had a feeling you're going to go with something with the sacks. So my number of the week, I'm going to go 16. And
always one better than me. Last week you had 2 and I had 1. Like, what is this one-upmanship from you?
And the reason I'm going 16 is the same thing. I'm going to go with sacks. I have a feeling that at some point they're going to give Travis Gibson a second sack, because he did have a strip at some point in the game. And usually when you strip the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage, they give you a sack for that. So that should be a second sack for him. So I think there's going to be a 16th sack for the Bears. And then if that's the case, like you said, that still leads the league by far. And I checked it. Tonight's Monday night game, it's the Chargers has 5, Raiders have 7.
Yeah,
so if no one's going to catch, they're not going to catch them at that point. But I would like to see the Bears' pressures up a little bit. According to Pro Football Reference, right now they're only 21st in pressures. That's counting sacks, hurries, and quarterback knockdowns. So they're getting home, but you still want to see the pressures, the hits. You want to see all that stuff increase, just because you want those quarterbacks to have the fear of death in them.
That's interesting. I didn't think that was behind the line of scrimmage when he stripped him. I thought he crossed the line of scrimmage, but I didn't look for that. So
It bounced right back to him, and then he ran, I think, for 4 or 5 yards.
okay.
So I'll have to go back and double check the stats, but if not, then hey, we'll just we'll have our producer take this part right out of there.
Hey man, this is
it's
live.
In there now.
This is already out there for our viewing audience on YouTube. For those of you that want to join us live on Mondays, we're going to try to do this every Monday night. So head on over to the YouTube channel to do that. So that's what you had for the stat of the week. Was we both went with the same idea?
I had the same 15, but I had a little note in case you do the same thing as me to give one more and talk about
one up
Gibson.
me. I understand.
Almost.
That makes sense.
It's
All right, well, we'll leave it there. We're going to take a quick break. And again, on the other side of this break, we will come back and we will do the 3 bears. So stick with us. All right, Lester, we're back. So the 3 bears, hot, cold, just right. Let's start with the hot bowl of porridge. Who did you have in this game that you want to award the hot bowl of porridge to?
We've talked about him a little bit here. I'm going to go Travis Gibson.
Okay.
You mentioned his pass rushing snaps. He had 24 total snaps on defense, which is just 34% of the time. He also played 5 snaps on special teams. And while he was in there, he had 3 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss as well. He had a quarterback hit. He did have a pass defense as well, a nice batted ball there. And he also had a forced fumble. And then, of course, like I said, he had 5 snaps on special teams. He had a tackle assist on special teams as well. So Travis Gibson is really starting to cement himself as the key part of the rotation. So Travis Gibson this week is the hot for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, absolutely. I love his development. I wanted to talk about the Bears offensive line in this segment and also what they did for the run game. So you talked about the pass game and how they kept Fields upright. And, he only had, I think, 1 sack, and then he spun out of that other one, which was a really cool moment. That was like one of those cool, sounds of the stadium, because it was like, oh, no, oh, my God. And then he rolls out, and like you're just this like suspense anticipation. And he throws it to Komet, and Komet, I don't know, falls down, flops, and thinks that that was weird. And then everybody wanted a flag, and then everybody watched the replay and was like, oh. No flag. No. But I wanted to point out that Montgomery, I know he's hurt. We don't know the extent of the injury. Hopefully he's not out for long, but he went over 100 yards again. That's the second time this year. Gives him 7 for his career. So he's now sole possession of 10th place in terms of number of 100-yard running games in this storied history of running backs. And so that was cool to see him continue to add to that total. Hopefully he can get back, because he looked great. And when these guys are blocking well, you have a guy that's going to break a tackle every time that he touches the ball. He just does not go down on first contact. So fun to watch live. Like, that's a guy that was a lot of fun. My best friend was sitting next to me at the game, and he kind of said something under his breath about, why are they running the Wildcat? This is so dumb. And Montgomery kept it, and it was like the best run of the game. And I was like, what were you saying about Wildcat? But, they're just trying to find ways to get him on the edge against smaller guys, because they just can't bring him down. And that was a really good play call in that particular situation, and getting him out on the edge. And he's just really fun to watch. In this franchise full of a lot of fun running backs over the years, it's nice to see that maybe Montgomery's another guy that can add his name to that list.
He played quarterback in high school. He does do the Wildcat stuff quite a bit for the Bears. So it's fun to see. I like to see him throw the ball once in a while, just kind of keep defenses honest. That's the next elevation of his package there. So, it's cool. And he's a guy that maybe, if he's healthy, obviously, he may be one of these guys that you may think about re-signing at that tailback spot. I know a lot of guys are really anti-paying the running back, but I just think he's such a good fit for what the offense wants to do. If it is going to be, Matt Nagy still here, I think that's the guy you have to think about, giving him the extension at some point.
Seems like he'd fit in a lot of offenses. So I think
yes, for sure.
Even under Brian Daboll's offense, I think he'll do just fine.
There it is.
Gotta just start putting that out there. Been putting it out there since last November, but we'll
get it in the universe, see what happens.
We will keep doing that. So what about on the flip side of that, the cold bowl of porridge for you? Who is the guy that you're kind of calling out as, you gotta step it up here?
You alluded to him a few moments ago, and that's Cole Kmet. I had high hopes for this guy coming into the season, but he just has not been the guy. I think I actually gave him my just right week 1. But, since then, he's just not done much. He had 3 targets. He had the 1 catch for 6 yards. I do think part of it may be play calling. He's just not being used the right way. He seems more like a classic inline Y. I think you need to use him more in play actions, catch him leaking out, at the fake, some post-ups against some small guys because he's like 6'5", 270. Have him run against some zone coverage, kind of just sit, there in between. But he's just not being used the way you like to see him be used. I did notice when I was watching the game again, a lot of those outside or a lot of those zone runs, Cole Kmet was coming underneath the formation backside to pick up the block. And that's usually a precursor to those bootlegs coming out, and then he comes underneath and leaks out that. So maybe we'll see him getting a little more catches that way, because when he does have the ball in his hands, he's not the fastest, but he's a powerful runner. So maybe we could see him get a few catches coming up as the season wears on, because, the Bears, drafted him. He played all but 1 snap. They believe in him. He's their why. So they got to get him involved at some point.
Yeah, he needs to improve on a lot of pieces of his game. Tight ends generally come along a little slower. That's why I didn't really want to freak out last year as a rookie. I never want to evaluate rookie tight ends too harshly. But he has not had a very good first 4 games to his 2021. And I think you're right. They might be hoping he's something he's not. I think they probably were hoping that they got another Travis Kelce to try to fill in a role that Nagy, coached under in Kansas City, but no one's really Travis Kelce unless you're Darren Waller or something, but it just doesn't happen. But he's definitely not George Kittle either, right? He's not much of a blocker. He needs to improve on that. He needs to get functional strength there to try to figure some of that stuff out. But my guy is Simba Webster. You got one job, man. You got one job. Your name sounds like the Lion King. Here was your chance to try to make a play against the Lions and start a legend, and you let the ball drop multiple times and it rolls, to the Lions' advantage. I think he has to be more aggressive in making fair catches, because he lost, 15, 20 yards of field position on a couple of punts. I don't know what he was thinking on the one where the guy made contact with him. Was he faking the catch? Was he? I honestly don't know. It was right in front of me, and I rewatched it 3 times. I still don't know what he was trying to do, but he was nowhere. He was 5-6 yards away from the ball. So is he not seeing it? It was a cloudy day. It's not like the sun was in his eyes. So I just don't know what he's doing. But that's literally the only reason why he's on this roster. And if you're going to do that, we cut. The Bears cut a guy last year, Ginn, right? They cut him for.
I was getting Ted Ginn
running away. Yeah, running away from the football, and that's basically what he did. And honestly, he wasn't aggressive enough in calling his guys off of it. They could have bounced on the back of his leg and been a turnover. This wasn't good for Simba.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see if the Bears work out a few guys, maybe let they have some of the guys they have, maybe Herbert gets a chance back there. Maybe Mooney. I know Mooney's done some stuff with them, during preseason, during training camp. So I'd rather not see a guy like Mooney out there doing that. But, if you got to have a guy that's, like you said, just catch it, just fair catch it, don't lose the yardage, because, those field position things, those really matter. And, it could really come back and really bite you at some point if you're against a much better offense, a much better defense. And it didn't hurt them too much this week, but those things can get you.
What about just right? Who's the guy you want to call out that just met the expectations that you had for him coming into this game?
I thought he had a pretty good game, but I anticipated him having a good game, and that's David Montgomery. I the whole week leading up to it, I knew, you've got to run the ball. You got to give this kid a bunch of carries, and he had 23 carries, 106 yards. We talked about it earlier. He had 2 touchdowns, and this is David Montgomery that Bears fans want to see. The Bears did some stuff with the I formation that really excites a lot of Bears fans. So we saw that. We saw him used in different ways. We saw him on the Bears ran some pistol stuff a little bit. So, having a chance to see him touch the ball when the game matters, I think is good for the offense overall. It helps play action. It's like I said, the play action is not needed to have the running game, but it doesn't hurt it if the runs, you're actually going to do it. You're going to commit to it. You're showing it. You have a guy like that with, over 20 carries before he got hurt. He could have finished this game probably close to 30 carries because he got hurt there. And the Bears were trying to, really just take the game away in the fourth quarter. So David Montgomery this week. That's when he comes back healthy. I want to see him getting 20 carries a game. I think he deserves it. I think he's that kind of talent. I think it's good for the Bears offense.
Yeah, I had actually a very similar answer, but I wanted to call out the backup running back. That's Damian Williams. He had 8 carries for 55 yards. He caught another 2 balls out of the backfield for 15 more yards. So 70 total yards, and he scored a touchdown. He looked like a great compliment to Montgomery. And this is a guy that I think that you can have confidence in to take over a larger share if Montgomery has to miss some time. This is not a guy that you worry about giving 15 touches. He looked explosive. He looked sharp. He looked like he knew his assignments and what he was doing. And so I think you feel comfortable being able to give a guy like that 15 touches, and maybe you work in a guy like Khalil Herbert for a few more and see what he can do as a backup if Montgomery misses time. So I was really impressed with Williams. He looked good. I know that your buddy, Papa Scarbs, it likes Williams, so he was talking my ear off about Williams at camp, and so I thought he looked really good in this game, and so shout out to Damian Williams.
Yeah, he's a nice fit for the offense. He did leave the game with a quad injury. He didn't return to the game, but then today it came out. It hasn't been officially reported because, of course, the Bears, they're going to wait till Wednesday to tell us about the injuries. I think it was Schefter or Rappaport, one of those guys said that it was a thigh bruise, and he'll be fine. So if Montgomery's out, which it looks like he will be out for a few weeks, it's going to be Damian Williams at that starting tailback spot, and then they said Herbert number 2, and then at some point they will get Tariq Cohen back after week 7 probably.
So you fantasy players, not a bad idea to try to pick up Damian Williams if you need running back help, because I think he's earned the right to get a high usage rate going forward in Montgomery's absence. So
those big 20-team leagues, better get him like we have in our.
Oh, well, he's probably rostered in a 20-team league.
Yeah,
that craziness that you and Robert play in. I don't understand how to even give advice to something like that. It's just nuts. But you guys are rostering offensive linemen, I think. But yeah, all right. Well, it was a good win. Any final thoughts about what you saw on tape or what you want to see going forward?
Just the defense. The defense starting to play really nice. I think Duke Shelley had a few nice moments. I'm still not there to where I'm thinking, this is the nickel for sure. I still think he has to prove that he has that job. But I think overall the secondary was decent. I'm okay with Deion Bush. I know they had that really rough gaff there. I'm still curious to see what the Bears, if they actually explain what happened on the touchdown pass. But it looked like he should have carried the guy back. I've seen some other guys on Twitter say that it was a different type of coverage. It wasn't his responsibility. So I'm curious if the Bears address that. But between Deion Bush or Tayshaun Gibson, I'm okay if the Bears just let Deion Bush take it the rest of the year, because he's the drop off's not as much as you would think it is. So let's see what Bush can do if he's given some extended time.
What is your thought on the Ogletree hip toss? Do you feel like that was a good technique?
That was nice. That was good technique. I'm a big fan of wrestling. He had good technique. It looked a little cleaner than the one that Mac had last year. But of course, Mac was doing his against a guy that was a monster, and with Ogletree, the guy wasn't quite as big. So it was.
I mean, the degree of difficulty on the Mac one was he got a sack with like one hand, and then he hip tossed a guy that's 350 pounds.
Yeah,
I'm going to give it to Mac. I'm sorry.
Give it to Mac.
The Ogletree was great, but I'm going to give the degree of difficulty over to Mac there. But I had a really great time at the game. I've been to a few stadiums. They all have their individual charms. Obviously, you're amongst friends if you go to Soldier Field, and so that's a little better than going to enemy territory just off the bat. But it's really cool if they do end up building a new stadium and moving out. I'm sure a lot of people are going to try to make that pilgrimage to Soldier Field before they shut it down, or they're not going to shut down Soldier Field, but before they stop playing there. And I would encourage it. I think it was a lot of fun. Got great conversations with people. Had a couple sitting in front of us that, they were going, they go to a game a year, younger couple. And, she didn't necessarily care about football, but she really enjoyed the interaction. And it was just a good feeling. I just had a really good time. It was amongst your people, and, can't wait to do it again. Probably next year, and probably stay in that same hotel because, it was pretty cool. So, a lot of fun. And, I don't know, trying to just play catch up the rest of this week. Make sure you're checking out the website. Make sure you're checking out everything on YouTube. Subscribe to help us out. That would be great. We're just trying to build this channel up, just now for the last couple of weeks. And so that helps us out a lot. We'll post all of these on the YouTube for you to watch them, like the podcast, and leave us a comment on the Windy City Gridiron podcast channel. And
give us a rating too. Those ratings really help the analytic, whatever you call the reach of the actual podcast. So make sure you give us a rating on there, good or bad. Give whatever you guys think.
Give us feedback. I mean, if it's like a 1 star, just maybe don't do that. But give us some feedback and let us know what you think. Obviously, let us know what you think on the YouTube channel as well in the comments. We would love to hear if you like the categories, if you want to hear more or less of certain things from us. So really appreciate it. Anything else before we close?
Let's get the hell out of here. It's time for Monday Night Football.
Yep, let's go watch the Monday Night Football. Thanks for everybody for listening, and bear down.
Boom! Way to go, guys. Good job. All right.
My dog has been scratching on my door for the last 10 minutes. I'm sure.
Let him in.
It's probably, I will now.
We could do like 10 minutes of Q&A, unless you guys got somewhere you got to go, which is fine if you do lives, right? We have lives, but either way,
I gotta eat dinner at some point.
Can't help Jeff but agree. I think Mac wins the hip toss. Ogletree's is more violent, but Mac's was like way higher difficulty, right?
I mean, Wirfs is super strong.
Just the size, yeah.
Yeah, and he's huge, and he just kept blocking him even after the play was over, and it was just more like a get off of me, I just loved the effortlessness of what it looked like. I thought it was smooth.
If there's something I'm watching that I think is going to be really intriguing, right? It's going to be the evolution of the just right bear, because you picked Damian Williams, JB. Damian Williams put up 70 yards on 10 touches. That's really good. That's not just right.
Papa Scarbs told me that's what I should expect. So, exactly.
I just find it really interesting, right? Because, if you want to make it a negative award, you go, Mac was just right. Because that's who he is now. You get him ISO'd up against a running back, he's going to nail him. But one-on-one pass rushes, we'll see. Haven't seen it in a little bit.
I might have wanted a little more. If he had if he had 80 yards or 100 yards, rushing or something like that, then that would obviously be hot. I thought it was a good. That's a good effort. He had
the touches and he produced, and that's what you expect to see from him when he has the catches and the runs, and you expect that from him. He did that in KC a couple years ago. He was the catalyst to the playoff run. So he has those kind of skills.
If you handed the just right bear over to some people, I think it'd be hilarious, because you guys could ask on Twitter which are the 3 bears that could get rolling, and I can't wait for people to be like, Mooney, just right, and I'm like, 125 yards, 5 catches, sounds fine
every week. That's what he wants
okay.
Every week. Yeah.
It's okay. It's just fine.
Yeah, Mooney looked. It was great. That the throws from the end. We're corner end zone. But we got some really good perspective on some throws, and the one to Robinson. I tweeted out. I found the screen grab where they showed the opposite angle, and I'm out of my seat because I can. You just see the flight of the ball, and I just kind of a magnet got out of my seat, and no one else around me was doing that. It's just you see me standing up. And so I paused it and grabbed a screenshot.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was so that was cool, but you could just that's an involuntary movement. I couldn't control that. That just happened. It wasn't I was I'm going to stand now. It was just
that's what I do when I'm at home. Yeah. The same with me. I jump up.
And the first ball to Mooney where he overthrew him, but Mooney caught it. I could see Mooney flashing open, and I was like, Mooney! And he's like this, and I'm yelling Mooney, and people are like, how did you see that? And I was like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where you see it, and then stuff comes out of my mouth, and so it was just cool. It was a cool experience
Jeff,
to be there.
You watch enough football that when you go to the game, you can finally watch the receivers. You know what I mean? So you're sitting there, Justin Fields drops back, and you're like, I'm not watching the line. That's Mooney. Look at him.
Yeah, I was like, I'll watch the line when I watch the replay. Right.
I'll tell you what, me personally, I I don't know which is everybody's favorite Justin Fields throw, because there were a lot of great ones, right? The 20-yard laser to Allen Robinson over the middle. I feel like people are just kind of forgetting that happened, and that was gorgeous too. But the Mooney, I'm so caught between the Mooney rainbow there in the third quarter and that cover 2 hole shot, because
the whole shot for me.
The whole shot was nuts.
Yeah.
That if he's a foot shorter, it's tipped, maybe picked. If he's a foot taller, Allen Robinson's trying to knock it down. Like, that was a tough throw. And even
it's like picking it's like you can't pick a favorite, because it's like if you have your bunch of kids, you like them all. I love all of them equally. All those throws are beautiful. I want to see more of them.
Oh yeah,
Robert, if you could throw that football through the screen and
he's ready.
But like Robinson, like he I could see him like catch the ball and like hold. I mean, this is 80, 90 yards away from me, I guess. At that point, I was so confident that he caught it, and there was a bunch of people like, I think he was out, and I was just like, no, he caught it. Like, and I was just like, I was dead sure, and I couldn't see his feet drag. I could just the reaction and just how it all played, and I saw him just catch it, and I was like, he didn't let go of that. It was cool.
The Lions challenged the play, right?
It was a stupid challenge too.
It was a terrible challenge.
The guy behind me wanted to know why Dan Campbell didn't challenge the Damian Williams touchdown, which all scoring plays are reviewed. He was questioning why the Bears didn't take a timeout with like 2 minutes and 4 seconds left in the first half. And I was like, because you don't take a timeout there, because if you come out and you throw, then it's the 2-minute warning anyway. He had takes for weeks.
He had thoughts for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And he kept like at it. Like he kept yelling them, and I just was like, all right, hey.
Was he just saying was he just saying it to you, or was putting out there into the Bears,
into the like for everyone, and people in front of? But I was right in the the zone of impact.
Listen to how smart I am, everyone.
So
I
have these great takes.
I remember, Lester, I was in I think it was in Arizona. My family just took a trip there, and we were golfing, right? And we meet some guy on the golf course, and he's a Bears fan. And I'm like 17, so I perk up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is random, but Bears fan. So we start talking, and he starts talking about how he just hates Jay Cutler, right? Hates Jay Cutler. And I'm like, why? Is it his completion percentage, like his erratic interception tendencies? Like, I start thinking about all the reasons to not like Jay Cutler. And he goes, because he's a loser. And I was like, I've never heard that one before. I don't even know how to respond to that, actually. Like,
not his pouty face.
It's just so funny to me, Lester.
His body language.
Dude, I couldn't. I think he was trying to make the argument it was win-loss, and I was like, he's dead average. Like, yeah. But it was hilarious because, Jeff, like you're saying, you meet some fans in the wild, and there's nothing wrong with having an opinion, but you get so used to Twitter where you hear a lot of the same arguments here and there, where then you get one singular person's opinion, and it's like, I don't like him because his favorite color is purple, and you go,
right.
And I don't have a response to that.
Speaking of, there was somebody who wore a Vikings jersey who sat like 6 rows in front of me.
What?
And I don't get it. Like, I don't get the, like, I'm going to go to an NFL game and I'm going to wear a jersey of the team that I support that's not playing. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
The Fox broadcast had someone wearing a Packers hoodie that had a big G on it for Steve here. So I'm like,
it's usually a Packers fan. There's always one Packers fan that does that. I haven't seen Vikings fans do that before, but he wore an Alan Page jersey, so I guess, like, okay, that's kind of okay, but like
he spent a lot of money. He's wearing that whenever he goes to a game. That's his.
Yeah, there was a guy wearing a Mac
day.
Raiders jersey, and I was like, okay, it's different.
I'll allow it. Right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll ask you guys one question before we hop off, because like you said, Jeff, you got to do dinner. But as just a bonus part for the rest of the group. Okay, so we'll go Jeff first, and then Lester. When you look at this offense, how much of what you saw against the Lions, both in terms of results and in terms of scheme, actually carries into Las Vegas? Or do you think that we just caught a terrible defense on a good week? We should just take the W, know that Justin Fields has that in him, and get ready for more struggle?
I mean, the Lions are bad. They don't have a lot of talent, but we'll watch tonight, but I'm not convinced this Raiders defense is that good. I mean, I think the Raiders have a good offense. they're going to be a good challenge for that Bears defense. But I'm not convinced the Raiders have much of a deal. I think they could be the 23rd best defense, and whatever. Then they can be competitive in the AFC. But they're not that good. So I think that it's the mentality, like Lester talked about, with you running downhill and opening up lanes and getting those offensive linemen charged up, but also everybody's charged up because Fields is all about touchdown and check down. So he's wanting to push the ball down the field, and that is going to keep them competitive in a game against the Raiders. So I'm supportive. They showed me what I wanted to see.
Justin Fields gives the offense a dynamic, like you said, touchdown and check down. So if you're scheming and game planning against Dalton or Fields, I think just the fact that Fields is in there, it opens up more of the offense for you, because now you have to really worry about those deep shots because he'll take them. And if it's Andy Dalton, which I like Dalton to a point, I think he's a capable quarterback, but he's not Justin Fields. He's not going to take those deep shots. And I think that if you come out here with a similar plan and it's Justin Fields as the quarterback, and you're really going to you're really pound the ball. And I think it's going to hurt having no Montgomery. But like you guys said, Williams is good. I think Khalil Herbert has got some talent. I think they'll find a way to run the ball successfully, do some play action, move the pocket again. And like I said, I think it's going to be Fields. And I think if they do that, they'll keep the game close. And I'm not going to pick the Bears this week, but I do think they have a good chance to win.
I will say, I will then be the voice of caution that says, I think the Raiders' defense looks a lot better than their statistics do. This is a Raiders defense that's mostly getting criticism for being bad last year, right? But they bowed up against a good Ravens offense and at least forced overtime, got a timely stop when they desperately needed it, and went away with it. Then they had a solid game against their Week 2 opponent.
What makes you think the Ravens have a good offense? What makes you think the Ravens have a good offense?
He's a big Greg Roman fan.
Oh my God! This is not the Danny Meehan show.
Fan.
Listen,
it's not.
They have a good running game. They have a good running game.
Exactly. They've got at least a weapon. Not to mention they've got Lamar Jackson under center. You can do a ton with that.
I just don't. I don't know.
It took a 66-yard field goal for the Ravens to beat the Lions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how explosive and good is this offense? I mean, I think there's some playmakers over there, but
all I'm saying is that my opinion. We just played the Lions where they didn't even have Trey Flowers, for crying out loud. So you got a bad offense without their best player. And Max Crosby, big step up from nobody. And we've still got Jason Peters, we've still got Jermaine Ifedi, and a bunch of people that we got to just forget about for a week. I'm not saying it's going to be Cleveland. That should never happen again. It's more that, like you're saying, Lester, this last week we did touchdown to check down, but we did it with the run game. And I don't know how sustainable that will be with Sam Mustipher at, the point of attack consistently. But I'm also not trying to be a huge downer. Arrow way up. Justin Fields looked awesome in a clean pocket. You can move forward just knowing that. You know what I mean?
Right. It's going to be somewhere in between, Robert, right? It's not going to be the Browns. They're not world beating, and it's not going to be the Lions, who are bereft of talent, right? So it's going to be somewhere in between. But I mean, I haven't seen enough to just think that this Raiders team they're world beaters. I'm just not ready. I mean, it's
and if they are,
their fourth game tonight.
Offense.
Let's see what Herbert does to him. Herbert's good. If Herbert burns them down and puts them back into place a little bit, then maybe we have a little bit of a different conversation. If they look good against Herbert, then I'm going to worry, because I think that Chargers offense is pretty good. You're still learning. Every team is still learning about where they're at in this. They're not fully formed anything at this point. And so,
like you're saying, I don't want to act like I think the Raiders are incredible.
Oh, you went on that corner. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that they're just not, maybe they're not bad. Is the impression that I'm getting, and even being okay can beat what was the 32nd ranked offense in the league.
No, if they're 16th by the end of the year, that's really good for them, because they were really bad last year, right? It's like the Cowboys. If they're not 32nd, that's a pretty good improvement from what they were terrible last year, right?
Max Crosby is a good edge rusher, but he's not Myles Garrett. So hopefully his goofy ass coaching staff have learned that you have to chip him once in a while. So they're not going to leave Max Crosby one-on-one against Peters and Ifedi all day. I hope they pay attention to him, because he is their best pass rusher on the defense. So give him a little bit of attention, run the ball, I think they have a chance.
I'm willing to be the huge dork that says that, honestly, if they didn't throw a single non-play action pass, I don't care. You know? Like, at this point, like, what I saw with Fields is when you give him time, he will, and especially if you can, like, wedge a guy open, because he missed a couple guys downfield in his first start against Cleveland. Fields is going to be able to make the throw. So I remember there was a drive where the Browns came at the Bears, and they ran play action, play action, play action, play action, a screen, play action, play action.
I love that
and
offense.
I think
That's my favorite offense.
I think they like churned out. I can't remember. I think it was a field goal at that point. The point is that you can do that, and obviously the Bears aren't going to skew that heavily. But I thought personally, if there was one critique of Laser, that they used not enough, or like they ran the ball beautifully, and they probably could have taken about 4 more play action passes and 4 less runs. It's
double
close.
The number of play action what you're at.
But well, wait, is it really double?
I would look for
There's
that
no
during
way
the
they
game.
only had 5.
I had a tweet, you know, because like I think they're setting it up. I said like with the stuff would come underneath the formation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they're working towards that. I think they're just something they want to kind of see how defenses react. And this is Bill Lazor's first time, you know, this year calling the plays, so he's getting into a rhythm as a play caller. So I think, you know, just like last year, you know, Bill Lazor's first couple games weren't the same as what he had as he was going on, and of course the competition, you know, helped that he faced last year as well. But, you know, I think as a play caller, there's a rhythm you get into. You understand what your guys can do the more you're actually making the actual call. And as long as Matt Nagy's not, you know, nixing his calls, I think the Bears offense will grow a little bit on us.
We'll see. Either way, I'm excited. I mean, that was one of those games that was like, thank goodness we didn't give up 9 sacks again, right?
Get right game. Lions are good for what ails you.
The elixir.
Yeah.
I remember
True
that.
tonic.
Yeah. I would hate to be a Lions fan in this setting, by the way, because you have to imagine that they were like, it's going to come against the Bears. We're ready. We've lost too many games against the Bears.
I don't think they thought that.
Jim Richards did. Or what was it
on
Windy City Gridiron?
Well, yeah, okay. I mean,
Shout out to you, Jim.
Mike Payton, you know, Pride of Detroit guy, and I mean, you know, his tweets are not very positive about the Lions. So
it's because of Jared Goff. I think everyone at the Lions fan, they know what he is. I think a lot of them either they appreciated Matt Stafford for being a great quarterback, or they just did not appreciate him until now. Now they're realizing, well, man, you know, we should have kept Stafford and done something. But, you know, the Lions are rebuilding. I mean, and Jared Goff is not the future. They have no quarterback.
You didn't see it then, did you? You didn't see the wave of off-season tweets. There were pro-Lions tweets about Jared Goff, young quarterback.
That's the off-season. We're all excited.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, everybody's you know, going.
Reality sets in pretty quick when they realize that the Lions passed on Justin Fields. And they could have had him.
I do think that what sucks about this is that if you jersey swapped the Detroit Lions with any other organization, I would say you're going to blink and they're going to be really good in like 2 years, maybe 1 year. But it's the Lions.
They had a good offseason, but they got a long way to go. I mean, they drafted a couple guys on the line that look like they're pretty good, but they don't have the quarterback figured out. They don't have any weapons really. I mean, Swift's nice, but like you can't really build around a running back as your only piece. You know, they've got a couple of pieces on defense, but you know, I mean, Okuda got hurt. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you don't write off anybody in 2-3 years because the league can change so much. Nope. But you can't say that like, well, they're going to put 4 great drafts together and then they're going to be great because they're going to get the quarter. Yeah, you don't know. They had top 5 picks for like 7 years in a row and they didn't do anything with it.
Not to mention, I mean, come on, we all know this. There are some franchises that develop positive reputations, some franchises that develop negative reputations. If Justin Fields breaks through the quarterback barrier, he'll be the first. If the Vikings need a field goal to win it, bet against it. If like the Jets have anything they're excited about, be prepared to be disappointed. And the Lions have somehow been the only team that has made Hall of Famers quit early. And I don't know, like, it's one of those things where, like, they will have to go against tons of history to be legitimately good. Like, are they building the right way? Sure. But what freak accident is next? I don't know. I'm not going to predict anything. That's awfully doomsayer. But you know what I mean, Jeff? Where it's like there's some franchises where you're like, I can't explain it, but just don't bet them because they had Stafford for 10 years.
Well, it's like the Jets too, right? I mean, but again, it's like you want to say, hey man, you ran a great marathon, and it's like, yeah, I ran a half a mile. I'm not even at a 1 mile. Like they took the first step, and it was nice. And like, let's see what happens. There's a lot of adversity to see. This is a team that's 0-4. Like they're not going to go anywhere this year. Let's see what happens next year. I mean, I'm not going to write them off in 2-3 years, but like, I'm not willing to say like they're gonna own the division here soon. You know, it's like,
especially since they've got actually a first round pick that they can think about, which, you know, bummer.
I hope that they draft a quarterback that's terrible and he puts him back another 5 years. I mean, like, let's be honest, right? Yeah. I hope that Mond's terrible in Minnesota. I hope Love's terrible in Green Bay. Like,
hoping that the Lions basically say, we made a mistake. We got to bring Matt Patricia back. Like, we know what we're missing. We gotta get him back in. Nah, I know what you mean. It's a divisional thing, right? I hope Jordan Love is the worst.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know if he is or not, but I'm going to cheer against him. I'm hoping that he's bad.
Like you guys said, I think the Lions have had some nice drafts lately. I think they have a good direction with the front office. You know, I do like Dan Campbell. I like Dan Campbell when he was the interim coach of the Dolphins, you know, so many years ago. I thought, man, this guy is a guy that could get a chance sometime. And, you know, he's got that old school, you know, like you guys, like on the show, Jeff, the bite him in the kneecap thing that's all anyone talked about. But, you know, there was some substance to what he says. And, you know, he's a culture changer in Detroit. He's there. To me, he's not the coach that's going to be taking his team to the next level, if it ever happens. He's an A to B guy. And at some point, they'll get tired of his message, bringing a guy once he has the culture kind of established there. But I'm with you guys. I hope they draft the worst quarterback in the draft next year.
Either way, I don't know. This is a nice week. I'm just going to try to coast this week.
Just bask in the glow.
Exactly.
That's all.
Guys,
good talking to you guys.
Have a great one. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Good stuff, everybody. We'll see you later. Google Meet's going to end, and so is the stream. You guys are great. Thanks so much for joining.